sure you saw the fans crashing out over the trade of Ausar Thompson talk this week, but really crazy, like 48 hours for Pistons Twitter.
Yeah, it's a place that can ride whatever wave it's on to a very extreme degree. Like during that stretch, I think there were some Pistons fans who are like, we could go to the Eastern Conference Finals and win the championship. And I'm like, let's slow down a little bit. Whereas now we lose the Dallas game and everyone acts like the sky is falling. I start seeing people try to point fingers as to what's going on, all this stuff. And it's like, no, this is just the ebbs and flows of an NBA season. And even good teams go through it. Even Cleveland is going through some struggles right now as well. Like this happens to the best teams in the league. And what's the mark of a good team is that they can snap out of it relatively quickly and get back on course, which to the Pistons' credit, they've been able to show that they can do.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give a shout out to our guy, Chuck Brewer. Our
Always
fan base
pleasure, Chuck.
I love Chuck. Our fan base got entitled pretty damn fast. Didn't we win 14 games last year or something? Yeah, I do agree.
Preach, Chuck, preach.
I do agree. We're talking with some fans about, Ausar as of late. I think some fans have pointed out that the foul trouble has been self-inflicted, which I tend to agree with. I know Alan was bringing up in the live chat, but I think Ausar right now, just from my point of view, I don't know about you, he's being asked to guard the best player on a night in, night out basis. Now,
Yep.
Does he get into some situations where maybe he's got his hand in the cookie jar too much, trying to get that steal? Absolutely. Is it correctable? Yes, with watching film, because he's too talented of a defender to have 3 fouls in the first quarter. Like, you just can't have it. I thought the Kelly Olynyk one, he was just trying to get the ball. There was one, I think, against Jose Alvarado, like really early on.
Yep.
He did a really good job of defending him, but he kind of raked across his arms to try to get a steal again. I think if he just slows down a little bit defensively, not trying to get a steal all the time and just, putting your body into the opposing offensive player, he wouldn't get into so many these situations where he is getting foul calls. But I will say, I was talking last week about how he wasn't bringing the ball up the court. He wasn't initiating the offense. And then that Pelicans blow up by 46, he did a lot of that. But it kind of seems like the coaching staff still wants him to bring the ball up the court and at least set up the offense, but maybe not every possession, maybe a couple of possessions a game. I think that's what a lot of fans are kind of looking at, saying, like, why do we go away from that? Because during that winning streak, Ausar was doing a lot of the ball handling, bringing the ball up the court. But what have you kind of seen from him, like, as of late over the last week or so?
Yeah, I think to your point, just with some of the, there's a lot of conversation about his playing time, but I think a lot of it stems just into his ability to stay out of foul trouble, just kind of like what we saw, tonight. And he's someone who's so athletic and is so gifted and is able to make plays at a high ability. But I think sometimes it's kind of like a young quarterback where he's just throwing in a little too tight of a window, or he's trying to, like kind of force something that's just a little bit more likely of a mistake than he should go for, right? So I think the thing that's going to be interesting, and just with him and just with this team as a whole, as the season winds down, as we get into postseason basketball, is just as things slow down more, is just how effective he can still be on the offensive end in the half court. Like, I think when this team's at its best and when Ausar's at its best is when they can play and really run and get out in the open court. And I think that's really when he's at his best with handling the ball and making decisions and getting out, in open space. When that closes in and you need more, you need more 3-point shooting and you need to space the floor more. And as teams are going to kind of try to shrink in on Detroit because they do a lot of their work on the interior, I think, that's something that Ausar is going to have to overcome. I think he's someone that's really good with still being effective without necessarily having that 3-point shot in his arsenal. But like, as teams are much more focused on matchups and are much more, have more time to prepare and hone in more specifically on things you do and things that you don't like to do, I think that's something that can potentially be, exploited. But I think to your point, it's like he's such a smart player already. He's such a gifted young player with a high motor and just high ability as an athlete. They are asking him to do a lot for his age and for his lack of experience. But, I think these are going to be, like some really interesting reps for Ausar and just to see where he's at, as far as his development journey and where he's going to have to grow. I think we're going to learn a lot about that over the next month or so.